top of the world, now I'm living. And the good just gets better, keeps on giving. Not even close to the end, it's just beginning. Life is getting lighter while the days are getting brighter, yeah.
Hey there, thank you so much for joining me today. I am super excited to be introducing you to a good friend of mine, Susan Saucier. Hey, Susan.
Hey, I am super excited to be here with you, Anne.
I'm so grateful that you agreed to be with me. You know that we've been featuring Ree Smith and her tarot readings and whatnot alongside of me for several months, and Ree's gone on to bigger and better things, and I'm so happy for her that her business is expanding. But Susan and I have done some work together over the last year or so, and I knew she'd be the perfect one to step in because she is a spiritual life coach. She is a psychic medium. She has all kinds of amazing credentials. You can check her out at spiritsandbeyond.com. I'll put the website down below there for you. But on her website, she's got all kinds of really great offerings. You need to check her out and follow her on YouTube as Susan Saucier because she's got some phenomenal meditations. I actually did your meditation on chakra clearing last night. Thank you very much.
Oh, awesome.
It was great. I needed it. So it was awesome. I appreciate it. So today we're going to be talking about November 2021. And I dare say it's going to pack a little bit of a punch, right? So I want to review just for a second that October has been a 6 universal month in a 5 personal year, okay? So 2021 is a 5, right? And we knew that October was a 1 because 1 plus 0 for October equals 1. So 1 plus 5 equals 6. So 6, there you go, 6, says the numerologist. So we know there was a 6 energy last month. So that was a big focus on responsibility to home and to family and just, you know, it's a little bit of a heavier energy, if you will. But this month we're moving into November. So when we're doing the calculations for the universal month, we have to consider November to be the master number of 11. Okay, we're not going to reduce that to a 2. It stays as an 11. And then we're going to add the number 5 to that, okay, because 5 is the universal year, 2021, 5. We add the 2 together, it comes to 16. What do we know about 16? I'm the poster child for the 16, right? 16, 7, karmic debt. So, you know, at the end of the day, it is a 7 in terms of a universal month, but this is going to hold more intensity because of the karmic connection to it, all right? So it's going to be a time when you're not going to feel like you want to be very involved with your family. It's going to be a straight, hard hell no. You know, everybody back off. I'm going in my cave, right? Everybody will feel this umbrella influence, if you will. So the universal year is not necessarily your personal year. Your personal year can be quite different, or it can be the same. But you're always going to have the influence or the support, if you will, of the umbrella of what the universe is bringing, okay? So this is going to be a year where we're going to be, or pardon me, a month that we're going to be wanting to spend a lot more time by ourselves. We're going to be wanting to be studying or learning, possibly something to do with spirituality, metaphysics, could be numerology, astrology, tarot, any of those sorts of things might, you know, cause an interest with you that you might not have had before. It may cause a lot of confusion this month because the 7 is a head case, right? The 7 is a head case number, meaning that we think and we think and we think, and when we're done thinking, we're going to think some more. So when we're under the influence of the 7, you'll find that you are thinking more, and it's not a good time to make big decisions because you can't make a decision based on what you think, a solid decision, right? The decisions you want to make are heartfelt decisions. So it's difficult to make a heartfelt decision when you're under the influence of the 7. So I would hesitate to do that, like, you know, sort of cool your jets on anything major that you need to make, particularly those of you who are in a 7 personal year or hold a 7 as a core number. So that could be your life path number, your expression number, your heart's desire number, or the day you were born, that sort of thing. So if any of that comes up to a 7, then this is going to be even more important for you. So when we look at the 16-7, we're reminded that this is going to be a time of trust, issues related to trust. So it might be a time when you're feeling like you can't trust yourself to make a solid decision, and that's true right now. It might be that you're feeling suspicious about somebody else. You could be attracting people to you that are suspicious around you. That is a possibility. But really, this is a month where the best way to get through it is to find a way to surrender yourself to the divine, whatever the divine is to you. It doesn't matter, whatever it is. If it's God or it's Christ or it's Gaia, or I don't care, it doesn't matter. You just need to surrender to something bigger than yourself and trust that they've got your back, right? Stop trying to drive the bus. The 7 says, I want to be by myself. The 7 says, I want to drive the bus, right? Get in the back seat and let spirit drive. So it's going to be a time when you're really going to need to, if you're going to be communicating with people of anything of importance, make sure that you're very clear, because the 7 has a tendency to think and think and think, and then they kind of act upon what it is you're thinking about, and they kind of blow the world up. And then people are looking at you going, what? Wait, I thought I knew you. What do you mean you're leaving that guy? I thought you guys were good. And now all of a sudden you're leaving him, and I didn't see that coming. So now I don't know if I know you very well. If I don't know you, maybe I can't trust you. Okay, so that's the influence of the 16-7. So it's very, very important for us to communicate very clearly what it is we want to, what we want to say. So it can be a very introspective and reflective time where you're not really going to want anybody else around, but the 16-7 is a bit of a challenge because you've got that 1, which is all about you, right? You've got the 6 in there, which is all about responsibility to others. And then you've got the 7, which says, I just want to be alone, right? So the 6 says, be responsible and be there for your family. And the 7 says, hell no, I don't want to have anything to do with them or anybody else. So the 6 is also about balance, right? So everybody's going to feel it. Think before you speak. I pulled a card. I don't typically do this, but I felt inspired to pull a card from my crow deck, because anybody who knows me well knows I love crows. And this is by MJ Cullinan. And the card that I pulled, now these all look scary, but crows are not scary. I'm just putting that out there, okay? So this is the 9 of Swords reversed, okay? And it's talking about the fact that this is the general card that I pulled for anybody who was inspired to watch this video. And it talks about the fact that you might be worrying too much, that you need to know that if you're worrying too much and you're staying stagnant and you're kind of staying stuck in that negative behavior of worry, you might attract that, right? So they're saying you may be getting worked up too much about something that's not even worth being worried about. So the best way to do this and to work with this is to stay present, stay in the moment, because this is the only place that you can evoke any kind of a change and make any kind of contribution, right? So that's basically it for November of 2021. If you want to learn a little bit more about what's coming up for you specifically, you personally, in 2022, you might want to check out the link below, because I have a program coming up. It's a 4-day event on Facebook, self-directed, but I'm going to show up 8 times for you live to answer your questions and whatnot. And it's limited seating in there. I do have some seats left, but I don't know how long for. Of course, they're selling up really quick. It's $38 for 4 days. All right. So this is a one-time opportunity, guys. If you really want to have a plan for 2022, I'd super love to see you in there. And I'd love to help you figure that out and create the plan that you need, because you're going to need a plan next year in a 6 universal year. It's going to be a little bit of domestic drama. So I want to help you navigate through that. So that's it. Susan, that was my spiel. What do you got? What's going on?
Well, first I want to say to anyone listening that, I have had a reading from Anne, and she is the numerologist extraordinaire, amazing. In her intuitive sense kicked in, along with the knowledge of numerology, and really was so impressive. And I referred to it for so long because, you give such a big packet for what you charge, and she just gives all apart. And I couldn't say anything more about, you need to go check her out.
Oh, I appreciate that.
So that being said, we have got some stuff coming up for November. Think about it. It's an 11-month, like you said, right? I'm a life path 11, and I know there's some 11s out there, and that's just challenge galore, so we know we've got that. And we're also going to the end of the year, right? We're getting closer to the end of this year, and the whole year has been about transformation and pushing. And, a 5-year, as you said, is that change for freedom and what we want. And so it's really pushed us to make some changes. So I would like to just mention, I do a lot of new moon and full moon meditations that are on my YouTube channel. And I'll give you a little bit of astrology with that. But what I want to say is the new moon that's coming up is in Scorpio, but it's on November 4th,
November 4.
2021. So I believe that ends up being an 11. And I will let you validate that for me, Anne. Just to make sure.
Um,
Is it an 11?
Actually, it's not. It's a
Not-
2, but
It's
it's
a
still going to be very, very sensitive.
Right.
Yeah.
It's going to be very sensitive.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's going to be, that time where you have to really, new moons are when you're going to want to, plant some seeds and, really put in what you're looking for and think about it. Like I said, again, I'm going to reiterate that at the end of the year. So what were you working on in the beginning of the year that you need to start completing? Because Scorpio is going to push you to make some changes too. It's big transformational energy for sure. Scorpios are going to give you the determination you need, the courage, the loyalty. They're very honest. They're passionate and they're passive. So the other side of Scorpio can be when you get those little stingers that come out, when you've done something wrong. So
Yeah.
you might feel some of that because 11 is going to be that kind of month where it's going to really challenge you to step up to the changes you want to make or the changes you want to break. So you've got to make that decision.
So Susan, I just want to ask a question about that. So given that we've got a 2 energy for November with the new moon, could that possibly mean that people could be looking for partnerships? Because the 2
Absolutely.
relates to partnerships and the new moon relates to newness.
Yes, yes. This could be relationships that either need to, they could form, but they could also be ones that need changing, ones that it's really transformational. So it's like, what have you been holding on to, or who have you been holding on to that maybe you need to let go of, or you need to take to the next level?
Yeah.
So it goes both ways, but you'll know in your heart, like you said, we tend to overthink in this particular month. It's going to be a lot of head stuff. And we're really being pulled to bring ourselves down into our heart, and really recognize what we need to do with that. And then we get the full moon coming up on November 19th, which will be in Taurus. So that's going to be all about, our comforts. So, our, how are we wanting things to be? And you're going to want to release things then too. But at the same time, you picture Scorpio is very intuitive. It's a water sign. So we're feeling a lot of emotion. And this is all in the month of November, right? And like you mentioned, it's 7 signs. So we're being really challenged with all this stuff, lots of emotion. And then it settles down a little with the full moon because Taurus is kind of a comfy sign, but they're also very fixed. They don't want to move. So but we are being pushed to change by the end of the year. And it's like, okay, now we're going to bring it all up again. So the best thing I could tell you is to pay attention to what's coming up, what is resurfaced again and again and again. It could be relationship, career, whatever it might be, but it's wanting you to pay attention so you can move through it. Yeah. And be ready to make the changes. But like Anne said, 7 months. So you want to really take the time to be alone with yourself and spend that time to get to know what your needs are, what your passion is, what you can do for you.
Yeah, there's a video that I created quite a long time ago. I'll put the link up for it as well, but it talks about the 9-year cycle. So all of us are in the shoulder season now, whereby we're feeling what next year is going to be about. So it's a little bit confusing because you've got one foot still in this year and you've got another foot kind of stepping into next year. So you're feeling the shift. So it's very, very distinct depending on where you're at. But given that November is going to be that month to where you've got to kind of stay within and be a little bit more introspective and reflective and think about, what do you want? Where do you want to go?
Yeah.
It sounds like astrology is definitely supporting what numerology is saying for sure.
Exactly. They're like happy cousins, they're
Yeah.
bouncing off each other.
That's
So
true.
I did pull one card also that I have just for one of my go-to decks, and it says, in any moment, I can surrender to the powerful presence of love through prayer, contemplation, and stillness. So it sounds like that's great for 7,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
surrendering's huge. I mean, how many of us want to control everything because there's this fear of what if I let go, what's going to happen? And sometimes you're amazed, like, oh my gosh, if I didn't do that, sometimes our outcomes can be even better than what we've imagined when we don't control them, right? Definitely.
I remember, did you ever see that meme that was around the internet for a long time? It was a guy that was hanging onto a really thick, gnarly rope. He's hanging on to it for everything he's got, and the sweat's just dripping down his face, right? And the caption says, sometimes it's harder to hold on than it is to just let go.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Fear of change. Yeah.
But yeah, this is exciting. I think it's going to be a really good month. I really feel that a lot of us are going to be able to kind of set the stage. Maybe, you know, if you've been, this has been a 5 universal year, which has been about change, right? So it's been pushing us on a lot of levels. Those people who have been in a 4 personal year have been pushed a little bit harder out of their comfort zones, because 4 kind of likes to stay stuck, you know, likes to stay a little bit, you know, where they're safe. But the 5's like, no, get out there, you know, do something.
Yes.
So, you know, it's been a little bit sketchy this year, you know, it's been a little bit uncertain. But I think everybody's a little done with uncertainty.
Yes.
So as we start shifting into 2022, we start feeling the energy of the 6. It causes us to leave that confusion and become a little bit more focused on what we want to be responsible for. What is our responsibility? You know, again, that's what I talk about in my course, is like, where are we going, and how are you going to get there? And we need a plan for next year. We really, really do. So it's gonna be a lot of good stuff coming next year, but you need to be prepared for it, for sure.
Exactly. And as you mentioned, you mentioned something similar. I always think of us stepping through the door, like the door has opened.
Yep.
You know, and it's who's going to walk through it. Some of us have already jumped through, some have our foot in the door.
Yep.
But think of the beginning of the year and what you've wanted to change and accomplish this year. And have you done it? Because your chances right now, the door's open and it's saying, okay, we're going into a 6 year where you're going to have a lot of demands with family and relationships. So what can you change right now to give you a little more freedom, a little more peace of mind, right? You know, and
Yep.
I think that's going to be really huge to think about before we step out of this.
Well, yeah, it is. And I mean, when you think about it, we're going into, when we shift into December, and we'll talk about that, you know, as we get closer to December. But when we start moving into December of 2021, we're all going to shift into an 8 energy, right? That's all about manifestation. It's all about stepping back into your power and taking it back. And there's so many, you know, ways to look at this. There's so many cogs in the wheel, and your own personal numerology and your own personal astrology and whatnot gives you a better clue as to what's going on. But overall, generally, universally, we're all going to feel like we need to really step it up in December. So use this month of November to kind of sit back and ponder where you're at. You know, what do you want your life to look like? You know, what do you feel a need to release and let go of? You're coming up to the end of the year, whatever your personal year is, she's getting there, right? We're almost there. So really consider what you want to release and let go of before you put your foot into 2022, because it's going to be a powerful year for sure.
I agree completely.
So thanks, Susan. Really appreciate you being here.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm hoping that everybody's going to check you out. Susan does some amazing psychic medium work, and she always coaches through her readings too, which is great because she is a spiritual life coach. So she blends the two of them, and it's really quite amazing. I really appreciate the work that she does. So you might want to check her out. But we'll be back this time next month talking about what's going to be happening in December. So I'm hoping that you'll join us then. And if this has spoken to you in any way, we'd really appreciate it if you might share it with somebody else. Thanks again. Take care. Have a great month. Bye for now.